I'm here with Nick Byrd, longtime friend of mine. Nick and I met, I guess, the first time we met was my wedding 10 years ago. The drummer that I had playing for my wedding broke his arm. I don't know if it was like the day before or something. It was like pretty soon. Like my wedding was only a couple days away or something, and Nick jumped in and played drums, and I think I'd seen you around, but that was the first time I met you, so again, appreciate that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, man. So I know like from there you went off and went to college and got involved with some guys and played music and all that, so you want to tell us a little bit of just kind of what you've been up to? And
Yeah, sure. I moved to Nashville in 2011. Went to school at Belmont University, and first few months I was there, I met some guys. And we started a band called The Lonely Biscuits, and we had, wrote some songs and ended up touring a bunch, and it was really fun, and still is fun, and we really got to tour the country and play a bunch of different places, record a bunch of records, and work with a lot of incredible people, see a lot of different places. And so that's one thing I do up there in Nashville, and I'm also an audio engineer, do a lot of recording, and I help people also find gear so that they can make music themselves, musicians and engineers and that sort of thing. And I also do some tour managing recently, and that's been a lot of fun. Get to travel a lot, meet a lot of people, have some new experiences, and I'm just happy to be able to use some of my skills and talents to help other people do that sort of thing.
one thing I'm remembering is it was probably, you could tell me the year exactly, but it was probably like 2012-ish. But I was working at a car dealership. I was selling cars, and I was in the break room, and I turned the TV on, and there's Nick Byrd on MTV. He's winning some award. And I was like, what is going on? So I don't remember what the award was, but you guys like won a car or something. What was it?
Yeah, well, that's what we thought we were going to win, that car too, which is really the really funny thing about it. But
I don't know how it worked. I just
a woman from MTVU reached out to us at a certain point. We were in college. She had found our music online, and basically she wanted us to be contestant for, or she wanted to nominate us for the MTV, the first ever MTVU Chevrolet Sonic College Artist Woody.
Okay, yeah.
And so we kind of took it very seriously, and the way it worked is there was a website where you could go and vote an unlimited amount of times. So we kind of rallied our fans to go vote for us, and that was very successful because we won.
Yeah.
We won the nomination, and that was really cool. So one day, a film crew from MTVU showed up at our house in Nashville. We had no idea. We were waiting for a Skype call with the producer for her to tell us if we won or not, and then all of a sudden the crew showed up at our house, and we did like a quick and dirty interview outside. They completely surprised us and told us that we won, and then we drove away in the Chevrolet Sonic. And we drove to Austin to South by, but we didn't really do that. A few weeks later we flew to Austin, and we got to play at the Woody Festival.
Wow.
At South by, and that was in 2013. And we accepted our award on live television, and that was really cool. It was a great experience. We met a lot of really cool people. That was an incredible memory, incredible time.
Yeah, I remember sitting here thinking, man, because I was in one of those positions where I hated my job, hated my life. No, I didn't hate my life. I hated the circumstances. And I was like, I was feeling like I need to be doing something I love. And I turned on TV. I was like, there's Nick Byrd just doing it, man. I'm gonna do that one day. So I'll never be as famous as you, but it's good to do music. But so you didn't win the car.
No.
What the heck? And I was thinking, what an impractical car for a band to split. Like, give them a 15-passenger van, something like that, but to give them a Dodge Sonic, if you've never seen one, they're freaking tiny.
They are so small.
You probably all couldn't fit in it, could you?
It was really funny. They tried to get shots of us, like, putting our gear into the car. And, like, literally all we could fit was, like, Sam's snare. That was literally it. Like, nothing else would fit in the car.
That's hilarious. The poor advertising.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know. That was a cool memory. I remember that thinking, wow, they've done it. But yeah, Lonely Biscuits is killer outfit. How would you describe it?
So it's had a few different sounds. It's all kind of tied into the same thing, but at the beginning it was because we were in college. I think it contributed to sounding very like a college band, which was great actually, because we were in college and a lot of our fan base were our friends who were also in college, and so that way it was able to spread very easily. And obviously it got the attention of MTV too, so that was cool. But now it's more evolved into like kind of like slacker rock. Something like kind of like Pavement or Weezer, Built to Spill, or kind of some references I typically will say. But overall, it's just like
with a touch of G-Love and special sauce.
Yeah, it's really like based on that feel good music, and it's also like very beachy. I feel like a lot of our music is just makes you feel like you're at the beach, and you're like everything's like kind of like carefree and you're just having a great day in the sun.
Yeah, I love it, man. I used to love coming to y'all shows. Been to a bunch of them. So you guys are kind of on hiatus now, and you're like doing a bunch of other stuff, like in the studios and tour managing and all that. So that's really cool. To get to the vinyl part of this segment. So I usually, to kick it off, ask like, what's your first memory with vinyl? Like the first time you like picked up a record and had like a connection with it, or maybe didn't have a connection with it, whatever.
So I'd say my first real memory was, so my parents used to live over on the south side of town here, and we lived there for a long time, and our neighbors were this older couple, and their kids were out of the house. And the man's brother died at a certain point, and he knew I was really into music, and so I actually helped him clean out his brother's place. Well, it was just full of like, he would collect all these things. He collected guitars and records and all kinds of stuff. He just kind of had an eye for, he loved music. He wasn't much of a musician, but he loved music. And that's the same way my neighbor was too. He kind of had a similar deal at his house. So anyway, I helped him move his stuff out, and my neighbor, for my help, gave me this record player. Now it was one of those like vinyl and CD combos. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't the Crosley. It was like kind of like before those really like took off, but it was a indecent record player. And he gave that to me, and he gave me some records. He let me pick through some of his brother's stuff. And so one record in particular that I remember spinning on that thing when I first got that record player was Metal by Pink Floyd.
Oh man, yeah. And
that was like pretty surreal to me, just sitting in my room listening to that. I had no idea what to expect. I had listened to Pink Floyd a little bit, but not really like anything like that record offers. And it was very like, not even influential, but just like it impressed on me in a big way. So that's probably one of the first memories I personally have of like my collection. And then like my mom, her dad was really into records, and they had like, you know, old James Brown stuff, and like Live at the Apollo, and all this like all these soul records, and so we had a lot of those in my attic. So I would pull those down from time to time, but they were old and like kind of warped. They'd been in our attic for a while, and but my mom would tell me my grandparents had a big collection, but they listened to them all the time, so they really got
worn.
They really got their use out of them, got their money's worth.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I just got a collection from somebody that died, and it's like you kind of get to know them a little bit through the different records that you get. I got a million stories like that though, but just being able to go through someone's collection and like you can see a lot about somebody through like what different types of records they had and all that. So that's cool. But
absolutely.
So what's the first album that you intentionally bought with your own money, whether it was like CD or cassette or vinyl, doesn't matter?
I think I was thinking about that actually, and I think the first one I can remember buying was that Under Oath record, Lost in the Sound of Separation.
Oh, that's a cool one. Most people have an embarrassing one.
I remember going to Best Buy and buying that. It was actually the double disc edition. It came with the DVD of them recording the whole record. And that was really cool too. I watched that so many times, getting to watch them in the studio and like watching Aaron play like 4 different drum kits and like paying attention to how they sounded and just like in some ways like learning about like the producer's role and how the producer works with the engineer and then with the band and how they did some stuff like I forget the keyboard's name, but he would go in the B studio and work on keyboard stuff and then bring it back into the main studio and they would put it together. I always thought that was so cool. And it's really funny too because I think that same year that Christmas, my mom got me that CD for Christmas. I think I still have 2 copies of it. one sealed.
Yeah, Aaron Gillespie's nuts.
Dude.
Incredible.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like I didn't really think about the producer's role until a couple of years ago. I mean, I just didn't. Well, I guess it's been longer than that, but I just started seeing like a lot of my favorite albums said Rick Rubin on them. And I was like, and I started kind of looking into him and like some albums he produced, and I was like, it's unbelievable how just with him in particular, like he produced, Frank Ocean, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Beastie Boys, Johnny Cash, Tom Petty, and then every album, totally different genres, freaking killer. I mean, and some of it does have to do with the musician, obviously, but you can almost tell when he's produced something. It's just, it's unbelievable how a lot of people don't think about how important that producer's role is and how cool. Like, if I could go back in time to when I was a kid, I would have wanted to be a producer. Like, that's really awesome. What are some of your favorite producers?
Really big into Questlove.
Oh yeah,
Questlove is great. I like Rick Rubin a lot. I actually watched an interview with Rick Rubin where he was talking about starting Def Jam out of his dorm room, and that was a pretty crazy
nuts, man.
That was crazy. Like kind of watching that unfold. They I think it was on YouTube, some video, maybe Viceland or something, and they interviewed him in that dorm room, and he was saying if you look at some of the first Def Jam releases, it has their dorm room address on it, like the very earliest ones.
Yeah.
I like Rick Rubin, like I said, and producers. It's funny because producers like. No, I don't think most people think about producers because their role can be so ambiguous.
Yeah.
And I've produced a few things, and I've found that to be true my own. Like, it really depends on what your style is because some people are really hands on and they do things a very particular way, I think Rick Rubin is somewhat that way, but then you have someone like Steve Albini, who's also great. He's also an engineer, but he has more of a hands-off approach in some aspects, to where he mostly just allows the band. He wants them to be as happy as possible, so he doesn't interfere unless they ask his opinion. But even then, he usually doesn't have one, which is very interesting, I think. But obviously, he's done some incredible stuff. Nirvana, and he worked on the last Bully record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really, really good. They tracked that at Electrical Audio in Chicago. And just some of his miking techniques, because he is an engineer as well. Everything's just very interesting, and I just being a producer can just mean so many different things. It can be, you can be a support system for the band. You can be super hands-on and be giving mic choices. You can be the person who's saying, let's go take a break.
Yeah.
Or this song isn't as good as y'all think it is. And being, just being the person who just tells the truth. Yeah. Or on the opposite side of things, just lets things go and lets the session be. But
yeah, like Rick Rubin, I've I don't know, gone to a rabbit hole with him, but he talks about how music is so spiritual, and how he tries to make sure that he says that the spirituality is just as important, if not more, than the music. So he tries to make the session. There's something I heard an interview with Jay-Z saying we're down here singing and gangster rapping, upstairs he's got all these shaman up here so he's a little out there in some aspects, but he's got this podcast called Broken Record podcast, and it's freaking killer. If you're a podcast person, which if you're listening to this podcast, you just might be, but he talks to a lot of different people that he's produced, and but anyways, that's just. But yeah, when I recorded a few songs that I wrote with Mike Blackwood. I know you know him, and I just figured he'd just throw me in there and say, play the song, and I'd play it, but it was so different. It came out so different than I had thought about it in my head, because he was like, what if we tried this, and and so we switched a bunch of things around that I really didn't think about, but he's such a pro that I just was like, yeah, you're right, that would be a lot better. So I don't know, it kind of benefits the song a lot more to have a good producer on it. But anyways, I just thought I'd.
And some producers play as well.
Yeah, like Mike did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
I think that's can be beneficial too, because they can add something creatively.
Yeah.
To the music, other than just giving ideas. They can okay, well, I can't play that instrument. I can't play the keys. For example. Yeah. I mean, I personally can, but in a scenario.
Is there an instrument you can't play?
There's several I can't play. I can play the main ones that you might find in a band. Yeah, for sure. I'm not the best at any of them necessarily, but I've been playing bass since I was for half my life. So
are you more of a bassist or a drummer?
More of a bassist. Okay. Sure. I love playing the drums, but I just don't really get the opportunity to play as much as I'd like to.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. I think most time I've seen you do anything on a stage has been bass. But yeah.
There's just a lot of other drummers in Nashville who are way better than me, so it's I'll let them do it. You know what I mean?
But it's nice that you can. I wish I could play drums. I can play hand percussion when it comes to separating my hands and feet. Can't do it. So from one of the main things I love about records, and the reason that I really like having a record store, one of the reasons, is that people that are creative and they write songs and they're into music, I can get them a record that I love turning somebody onto something that just blows their mind, Yeah,
you've done it to me.
I try, but whether it's a 13-year-old, there's a kid in here last week and he's like, I'm just getting into this. What record should I hear, And I was like, "Do you play guitar?" He's like, "Yeah." And so I gave him Led Zeppelin 4, and he'd never heard of Bob Dylan.
Oh,
So
wow.
I gave him Times They Hard Changing. No, it was Freewheelin' Bob Dylan. And I was like, "You play acoustic, play electric, take these." And his dad was like, "Oh yeah, that's a good choice, you know." But his dad's like, "I don't know what to tell him." But then even people that have been doing it for a long time, and I like learn their influences and like try to find something that they've never heard of before and say, "Listen to this," you know. That's one of my favorite things. But anyways, so for you, like I know with a musician or like if you produce or whatever, music discovery is like a huge part of that. How do you discover music? Do you like, I know a lot of people just do Spotify. A lot of people go through a record store and try to find things that piques their interest. How do you do it?
Typically, both of those ways. Most commonly, like Spotify. But it's funny, like I do like to find music in like, I guess, other unorthodox ways. Just picking stuff up and just taking a chance on it, taking it home, listening to it. Or for a long time, this is kind of funny. I really liked discovering music on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Like just via related videos where they just have like a full album stream or just a song or something. And that was a great way to just find new stuff. I don't know, that in particular, I know the quality's not as good, but I just love that process. There's something about, particularly on finding new music on YouTube, that has really worked for me over the years. I haven't done it as much recently, but I need to get back into that because, I don't know, in some ways it's like kind of a free-for-all. It's like less curated, and it's more like, just here's all this music that I've never even heard of this band. It's like, all right, check this out. But I know it's related to what I was just listening to because of the algorithm.
I just found something on YouTube that freaking blew my mind.
See?
I can't remember what the name of it is, but it had like millions of views. And I was like, what is this? It was this kid, he's like 20. Goofy British kid, and he's like freaking unbelievable. And there was like this huge band. I know you've had to have heard of this guy. It's like Jacob Collier or something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Is that his name?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my gosh, man!
Jacob
Like
Collier.
he is on another level, dude. Like I started researching about him, and his mom was like a music teacher at this university, and she would like just bring him every single time she would teach. So he was surrounded by musicians his whole life, and he like some of the most funky in the pocket crazy stuff, but then like classical too. He just blends it all together. It's freaking nuts. But yeah, I just like a few months ago found him on YouTube, and I was like, what is this? This is so good. But yeah, I think that type of thing sometimes is a acquired taste too, because like it's a little out there, you know.
Totally.
But I don't sometimes realize how far I'm getting, and then like I'll put something on and tell my wife, hey, check this out. And she's like, this is nuts.
Yeah, it's like, how'd you find this?
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm like, oh, I guess it is kind of crazy, but that's just, man, for me, like psychedelic and like funk and soul and like blend them all together. I love stuff like that. So
I enjoy knowing that I can come back to music, come back to whatever I find whenever I want. Because there's a lot of stuff that I just know that there's so much music. There's like an infinite amount of music that I haven't heard. And instead of taking that as like intimidating or overwhelming, I just take my time, and I know that I'll get to that record. Mm-hmm. It's like there's a certain amount of artists where I'm like, at some point I'm going to dive into your discography. I'm going to like study you for a period of time.
Yeah.
A good 2 weeks. I'm going to listen to the tones and the sounds and like evolution over records. And that appeals to me more than just like maybe like passive listening all the time. I'd rather like, and even within that context, like find one of the records that really resonates with me. Like for example, there's an artist named Alex G. He's from Philly, and my bandmates in Lonely Biscuits, Been playing him for years. Like, love him, and I like his music too. I've seen him play live and stuff, and I've heard his records by proxy a ton at this point, but I never really listened to it for myself.
Yeah.
And like this past week and a half, I've been listening, and it's funny because I realized that I've been writing in a similar way, writing music in a similar fashion, and it kind of sounds similar, but it's really just like re-inspiring me to keep writing. And he has like 5 or 6 albums. One came out recently, and I don't know. I'm just like, I knew that one day I would listen to Alex G's stuff, and here I am.
Yeah.
But it's taken me 4 or 5 years, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because everybody in their own time.
Well, I mean, it's like, I've got friends that are like, have you heard this record? I'm like, no, I've never heard of it. They're like, what? You never heard of it? I'm like, no, I never heard of it. And then, like, you've been doing this for how long? You never heard of it? I was like, I hadn't heard it. And then I'll tell them a record and I'll blow my mind. They've never heard of it, but it's just whatever you're into at the time. Like I always say, one of my pet peeves is when you say, hey, you know this record or this musician, and you could tell when someone says, oh yeah, and they have no idea what you're talking about, But
Exactly.
I always say, it doesn't matter. I've never listened too much to like Fish. I know they're great. I've seen Trey Anastasio live. Like I love them, but I've never really listened to them. But like I know I will. I know I'll get crazy about them at some point. But it's one of those bands I haven't got there yet. I just don't. They haven't captivated me enough to. But I know some people have like devoted their lives to see every Fish show.
Man,
but
one of my friends, it's my old roommate. Yeah, he's been to so many Fish shows.
I mean, I love Dead, and I love I love jam bands and stuff. So, and I know some of their songs, but I'm saying like you're saying, like really gotten into their discography and learned about them. I just whatever. But I will, I'm sure, at some point. But for me, like you said, there is an infinite amount of music out there, and like. I never get to the point where I think, I've heard most like everything, because it's just people bring stuff in all the time that, like, what the heck is this, And like somebody brought this record the other day, and it was this guy playing like ambient music at Disney World, and that was a recording of it, and it was great. Like his name's Iceberg, and he was like playing like Moog synthesizers and stuff, and it was like killer, But it's just I don't know. That's the cool thing about it, is that you never run out. There's so many. And then, like, there's so many that never made it. And they just, like, there's 45s floating around of stuff they did, but, like, they never made it. Like, have you seen that documentary, A Band Called Death?
No, but I know about the band.
That one's... What's their kids' band? It's... can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
But their kids have a band that like cover a bunch of their songs and stuff. But
dude, Death rules.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Unbelievable story if you haven't seen that documentary. But it's just about this band that they didn't go anywhere because it was early 70s.
Yeah, it was just too early for that kind of like that punk music.
Yeah, and they almost got signed, but the record label told them they had to change their name from Death to anything else. And like it was the first punk rock band, is what they say, is like it was just it was very Stooges, proto punk, like amazing. But and then somebody found one of their 45s and put it on YouTube or something, and then this kid hears it and he takes it home to his dad and is like, this 45 is amazing, and he's like, that's my band.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. His kid found it, or found like in a line or something, and brought it to him and was like, this band is amazing, and he's like, that's my band.
Whoa.
And so like the lead singer had already died, was his brother, and or something like that. Anyways, I might be getting that information wrong, but and so then they go back and they try to find the tapes, and then this is like 2011 and 2012, something like that, and they find the tapes of all the original recordings, and so they issued that first album that they wanted to put out, and that first album's amazing. But anyways, but like who knows what kind of tapes are in people's attics that are amazing music no one's ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, but
just throw them to the wayside.
Yeah, man. So what albums like when you put it on, you're like, man, I gotta pick up a guitar or bass or whatever? Like, what albums do, when you hear it, you're just like, I gotta write something?
For the bass, man, John Cooper Stories to Self-Titled is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's
killer.
Every time I put that record on, I'm just like so moved by his playing and the composition of the songs, and I mean, it's just like, and that's really, it's actually a funny one because you can't find that record on Spotify or Apple Music. Yeah, there's a whole thing with Warner Records where they took it down. It was up for a while. I used to listen to it on Spotify, but now it's not there. But I do have the LP, and from time to time I put it on. It's a special occasion for me. That one, and then like I love Explosions in the Sky. Those are some of the first. When I first started getting into vinyl collection when I was in college, that was typically the first artist I would look for, because when I thought of vinyl, that's something I wanted to have on a record. That was in some ways like a quintessential LP to me.
Yeah.
You know, that's because the whole process of listening to records is, you have to be so intentional.
Yeah.
You know, especially having to flip it and whatnot. And
funny thing, that Explosions in the Sky, I can't remember what the name of the record is, but it's got like a beam coming down from the sky. It's like a animated cover.
Yeah, it's
I can't remember. But the first time I ever heard Explosion in the Sky was that record, and I found it at a yard sale in Asheville. And took it home, and I was like, this is killer. But, yeah, I mean...
I think it's the one with, like, Greet Death on it and Yasmin the Light.
It might just be called Explosion. This might be self-titled or something. But anyways, but, yeah, that one, that's the first time I ever heard it was on vinyl.
I think it's my favorite one of theirs.
Yeah, that's also, like, the most popular one.
I found their very first record on CD at a record store in Nashville. I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called. It's got like a white and blue cover, and it's the kind of thing where if you like that band, you'll appreciate it because it's so like, it's kind of janky.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, like you guys are definitely like teenagers or something.
Yeah, but you can still hear it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Those humble beginnings for sure.
Yeah. For me, like, I don't know if you ever listened to Townes Van Zandt, but anytime his self-titled record, anytime I put that on, it's just like, I've got to pick up a guitar, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Townes Van Zandt. Like, it's funny because I love, like, funky music. I love psych. I love, like, crazy guitar solos and all that stuff. And I used to play guitar in a bunch of blues bands, and I played lead guitar, but it's been so long. But, like, I love music like that, but when I sit down and I want to make something, it's always, like, singer-songwriter type stuff. I never am like, which if I was surrounded by different musicians, it would probably be different, but it's just me. So I like, me and my wife sometimes will write together, but you know, it's just stuff like that I feel like I could do myself, but it really just, I don't know. Sometimes I listen to music and I'm really consumed by the music, and then sometimes the lyrics, you know, it just depends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Townes Van Zandt and Jason Isbell and Blaze Foley, I don't know. But that's all stuff, anytime I put it on, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? You know what I mean? But
whenever I listen to this one in particular is kind of special to me. Bon Iver's record that was put out in, I think, 2016. That record is a kind of funny story. So two of my friends who I went to college with, they were living out in like the San Diego area, Carlsbad, and both into Bon Iver a bunch. And so I was talking to my friend Mia on the phone one night and just like catching up, and she mentioned that she had bought an extra ticket to Bon Iver at the Hollywood Bowl, and this was like 2 or 3 months before. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, didn't think much of it. And then then I get to thinking, I'm like, like I wonder like how much a flight would be. Like how much would this potentially cost if I wanted to do this? Just like hypothetically.
yeah.
So I look into it, man, and like, long story short, I ended up just like because she offered the ticket to me.
Yeah.
And I ended up going out there and visiting with them for about a week, and we went to that concert, and that was incredible. That was like one of the most memorable concerts I've ever been to, and it was because I was with really good friends of mine. For one, I was having a great time out in California, but that venue was sold out, 7,000 people.
Wow.
And we were kind of like 2/3 of the way back, but they had these screens ascending up so you could see what was going on the stage, and the sound system in there, the PA, was just top notch. And all in all, it amounted to it basically feeling like they were playing in your living room.
Yeah.
Even though they were like almost a full football field away.
Wow.
And it was kind of like lightly sprinkling. I don't know. There was one point during that concert where all three of us were sitting next to each other just crying.
Yeah.
Like it was just so beautiful. So that record in particular, when I put it on, those memories come flooding back, and I get really inspired just by the way he sings and arranges the songs, the instrumentation, and that sort of thing. And then like as far as like hip hop, like Liquid Swords by the GZA, I have like a box set. My friend gave me this box set. It has like chess pieces and a chessboard, and the original CD as well as an instrumental CD. And then I also have the instrumental LP on white vinyl. And whenever I put that on, I really get really inspired to make beats, because if you listen to that record, it's super like it's not perfect whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like the beats are like the way they're cut up and stuff. It's so it's kind of janky, but it works. But you don't really notice it until you listen to just the instrumental.
Yeah.
But like when the vocals run, they stand up by themselves. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's inspiring, because it's like, man, I could just like kind of go with what I feel when I'm making music like this and not think about it too much. It could probably work,
Yeah.
Not putting too much effort into it.
Yeah, I definitely think you can overthink things sometimes if it's not coming easy. I mean, but it's like sometimes, like the songs I've written that I like the most, I've written like that, like 5 minutes. Like the one song I wrote, my favorite I've ever written, I literally wrote it at one time. I sang it, it was done. But like, Leonard Cohen, Hallelujah, took it like 15 years to write it. Mm-hmm. And it's phenomenal, But I don't know. I haven't figured out like that hard work side of writing music yet. Like I don't think I'll ever do it as a profession, so I probably will never find it. But I only write songs when I want to, when I feel inspired. But like, a lot of really good, prolific songwriters are like, you can't just wait for inspiration. You got to write all the time, So I don't know. That's food for thought for me. Like I one day when I have time to really sit down and write, I might figure that out. But for me, it usually just comes when I feel like it.
That's how I am too.
Yeah.
In some ways, like typically when I write songs, I write them once.
Yeah.
I typically I'll just kind of put my phone down and just get a voice memo, but I'll just start playing, and then I'll just sing what's on my mind, what I'm feeling in that moment, and typically that's it. Yeah. And it works. And then that everyone's different. Like a lot of people doesn't work for them, but it just really just depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean it's different things. I mean, through the I don't know. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but have you gotten into the whole Enneagram thing?
Not really.
Yeah, through that I've realized how different people's brains are. Like, it's crazy. It's just nuts how different people process things. And I think that one type is like Nick Cave. he'll sit down and he's like, it's a 9 to 5 job. I sit down and I write music and then I'm done, you know, and I do it every day. But then some people, they're just like different types. They just can't do it that way. I don't know if I could do it that way. That'd be interesting to hear, like, someone who really knew songwriting and then really knew the Enneagram, like which types do which things. Like, that'd be interesting to hear. But yeah. Do you listen to Sleeping at Last? You ever listen to him? Like,
I don't think so.
That's a dude. You need to listen to him. He's like this unbelievable songwriter that just writes like really beautiful, almost ambient music, but with really, really strong, like great lyrics. I mean, the music and lyrics both amazing. But like, he releases these huge albums. Like a couple years ago, he released one called Atlas, and it's just like 30 or 40 songs. And I got it on vinyl. It's killer. And then he just released Atlas too. But like, he did one for every planet. He wrote a song for every planet. He wrote like, earth, water, like wind, like all this different aspects of the world. It's crazy. But then he wrote a song for each Enneagram type. He's just, the way he writes music is unbelievable. But that's when you should check him out. But anyways, what are you listening to now? Like, when you get in your car and you drive away, what's on it? What's in the?
Like I said earlier, I've listened to a lot of Alex G.
Yeah.
It's just funny. It's because it's a pretty explicit record, but I've been listening to the Game's new record.
Oh yeah.
And dude. Yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff, man, that sort of hip hop, that West Coast stuff, it is really good. Like, it's because with hip hop records, typically they put it, and it's like 23 tracks, and rap records will have a bunch of tracks like that.
Yeah. But
a lot of times, it's a lot of skips.
Yeah.
And this one, I think I could say with confidence, no skips.
Wow.
And it's just when we have someone like The Game who he's put out so many records, but this one in particular, like, he just goes in, man. Like, he's just like rapping. There's just nothing fake about it. You can tell that, like, he means what he's saying, for better or worse. He means what he's saying, and it's not something he takes lightly. He's not like just whatever you want to call it, one of these new rappers who are just doing it for the moment.
Yeah.
It's like he's like a lifelong rapper. The name of the album is called Born to Rap.
Yeah.
And it's really good. I've listened to that a bunch, and I've also been. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just before I forget, have you heard that freaking 10-minute freestyle Black Thought did?
No, I've been hearing about that for years.
Dude,
and I
you need
not.
to. It's unbelievable. I think it's 10 minutes straight. There's no way you could memorize that much. That's what kills me, is that, like, everyone's like, it's not real, there's no way he did it, but like, it's 10 minutes of straight, 10 minutes long. Unbelievable. And every bit of it makes sense, and every bit of it's like killer, like, what? And then, but there's no way you could memorize that many words. Like, it's unbelievable. I don't know how you would be in the headspace to do that, but everyone's like, what the heck is going on right now? You need to watch that. Anyways, what else are you listening to?
So I've been like circling back on some of my favorite albums of like the 2010s, I guess.
Yeah.
And one in particular is called Swagger by a band called Fly Golden Eagle. They're out of Nashville. I think you'd really like it.
I'll check it out.
They never press vinyl.
It's okay.
But I wish they did.
Yeah.
Because that is one of a handful of records that like I would kill for to have on vinyl. It's kind of like psych rock, but real groovy at the same time. Really well written. That one, I always come back to that one, and it's just front to back, just great. I love that record. Other than that, I listen to, I don't know, just random music. I've been into Manchester Orchestra again recently. I went and saw them play their 10-year anniversary, on their 10-year anniversary tour for Mean Everything to Nothing. That was really cool. I love when bands do concerts like that, play an album front to back.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like, you know what you're going to get, and especially if you really love the album. I saw Me Without You do that for A to B live in Nashville. It was just like, I don't know. When you really are really into a record and, you know, listen to it at a certain point in your life, and then you hear those songs live with that sort of energy, it just like you just feel fulfilled in some ways.
Yeah. To where you can, when you hear a song end, you can hear the next one start before it does. You know, like I don't know if I've ever been to a concert like that where they play something front to back, but that sounds like it would be awesome.
It's really inspiring to me, because you should be able to do that. You know, like your music should hold up in that way to where you can say, okay, tonight this performance is going to be this record live.
Yeah. I think that like a lot of people are like, why are you not into 45s and singles and stuff? I'm such an album person. Like I just think that just the composition of an album is so incredible. Like it's just, it speaks for like a season of your life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's important to me and impactful to me. Just so singles are great and some songs really make you think, but just the album format, I just love it.
Me too.
But anyways, like occasionally I'll hear something and I'm like, who's this? And then I'll look into the artist and like, oh, they're like super famous and I just missed it, you know? Like I just heard Brandy Carlisle cover Joni Mitchell's The Case of You. I don't know if you've ever, you know who Brandy Carlisle is, I'm sure. Everyone in the world knows, apparently, except for me. And I heard that and I'm like, whoa, this is incredible. And then I was like, oh, she's like really famous. You know, I just never.
Well, I mean, you can't know. I mean,
yeah,
you can't know everything.
Well, I'm so like off the radar, like like Billie Eilish. Like a couple months ago, I didn't know who she was, and then like heard something, or I'm like, who the heck is this?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, how could you possibly keep up with like
I
all
should.
that kind of stuff?
I should, but I just don't. I don't know. I get so into like old music that like I'll get into a wormhole of like crazy obscure stuff, and I don't know how beneficial that knowledge is, but it's a lot of fun to me.
Well, so. I'd say it's cooler to have the obscure knowledge than to know every popular artist that comes out, because everybody knows that, you know. Yeah,
but anyways, we've been doing this for a while. This is one of those good conversations where I don't have to really push it. You're easy to talk to, but it helps that we know each other. But so Nick is here in town, and we've been wanting to do some live shows here at the shop, and so he volunteered to put one together. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited about it.
I'm so stoked, man.
It's going to be so good. He's got all sorts of things going. He's got like people, fire breathers and like jugglers and all sorts of like crazy stuff happening. Yeah, there's a cotton candy machine. But he's got some cool things. He's got a couple friends of his that are coming out too, and I'm really excited about it. That's going to be on Saturday night at about 7.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, excited, man. Like I said to you the other day. Well, so I came in here and got to see the shop back in November over Thanksgiving break, and it's like so impressed with what you've been able to put together here. And you know, I saw that kind of performance space back there, and I was like, man, have you had any shows here yet? And you're like, no, I'm trying to do something. And so here we are. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I reached out to a couple of my friends here in town, and they want to perform. I'm gonna perform as well, and I just want to bring more people in here and give you more exposure and get. I mean, there's just such. I mean, I walked in here this morning and like I was sitting in my car waiting for you to get here, and I'm like looking in the window. I'm like, there's like 4 records that I would buy right now. I haven't even stepped foot in the place today.
Yeah.
And it's new stuff that wasn't here 3 days ago when I was here, and I think more people need to know about this place, and I want more people to be patrons that don't know about this place already. You know, because there's really, how many record stores are here? That I can think of. It's Lunchbox. It's like Manifest. I don't know of any others besides those three.
There's Repo, but nobody's in this area. And that's the thing. Like, that's why I wanted to start it here. Is that there's a lot of people in this area, and everyone has to drive all the way into Charlotte if they want to buy records. So I think that pushes people to buy online more.
Mm-hmm.
Which there's nothing wrong with buying online, but I think that if you can have a local spot to come hang out and look at records, I think that's really cool. And it's a small enough town to where, it's not like I'm in a metropolis or anything, but it's big enough. There's a lot of population here that collect records, and so I think it was time for one to open here. So, but yeah, it's cool. There's not a record store within a 20-mile radius of here, I don't think.
That's awesome.
So
Definitely serving, a certain population. People need their records, man.
they need them.
They need them. And it's great. It's not just a record store. It's like really well curated. One of the most impressive things to me is it's not cluttered in here. And it's not like, you've been walking to most record stores and there's just stuff everywhere. There's just like stacks of CDs, stacks of records. It's just like, is this someone's house or like an attic?
Yeah.
But you walk in here, it's super clean, like white walls, and like the bins are super nice. And it's like the actual bins are like pretty full, most of them, but there's not a ton of bins, and it's like not overwhelming to come in here and like actually like look through stuff and find stuff. And it's not that hard to find stuff that almost anyone would be able to listen to and like grab onto, and I really appreciate that. You got the whole wall here with all this great stuff, Beatles stuff, and there's a Death record right there live in LA. I saw that last time I was here. I was like, I've never even seen that before.
Yeah, dude, that's a rare one. But like, so my plan is to get more shelves in here, but it's crazy. Like, since I opened, I know I've sold 10,000 records since I opened, because I have a pricing gun and I ran out of there's to 10,000. So it's maybe 8,000 I've sold, but like I keep thinking I need to get like more shelves and expand and all this stuff. But I'm buying records like at a ridiculous rate, like all the time, more than ever, and I still can't fill everything up to where I need more shelves because people are buying it. So that's great. That's a great problem.
That's a great problem to have.
But it's just, I want to get more space and all that stuff. I love buying records. I love finding stuff, rare stuff that I'm like, somebody is gonna walk in and be like, man, I gotta have that. I can't believe I'm holding this in my hand. Like, that's my favorite. To when somebody's like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. So yeah, man. So but I appreciate you seeing the vision, man, and wanting to help out. We're really excited about having the show here, and so hopefully there's many more to come. But this has been Nick Byrd's couch experience here. But yeah, man, I guess we'll wrap it up unless there's anything you want to, any parting words of wisdom.
No, not necessarily. I just want to encourage anyone listening, if you hear this in time, to come out on Saturday. I think it's going to be awesome. We're going to have some refreshments and live music and some art on display and some other goodies. And just going to be a good time. Come spend your Saturday night with us.